But the first time I kind of came head to head with this, you need to like put your ego aside and focus on asking for help. So I was working at this outdoor center and we were doing this like staff training week, right? So they were developing, there was leadership staff. So I was one of them. So I'd be running different programs with like on leadership development with young, like 14 to 16, 17 year olds. And our staff training week was our director at the time took myself and a few other of the leadership counselors and like the kind of senior staff at the place. And they put us, they're like, hey, you're going to do this, we're doing these exercises, right? These development ones. So one of the things they had us do is they got us into this like Gagaball court, but it's basically picture like a two 2x4s stacked on top of each other with one drilled in the back into the ground. So it's basically it's an octagon. So imagine we're in the octagon, right? Like that kind of shape.
Yep.
And we're all blindfolded. Okay. And we're all blindfolded and we have to figure out the rules were, okay, you can't go over the barrier, you can't touch the barrier, you can't go under the barrier, you can't go around it. If you need help or you want to get out, ask for help. Okay? That was the instructions. Clear as day. Everybody's walking into it. People are like, we're brainstorming, we're allowed to speak and do anything, we're blindfolded. You can't go over, around, under, through. If you want to get out, ask for help. Dude, I remember my buddy and I were in this thing for like 15, 20 minutes, like trying to figure it out. We were like asking, and then all of this, trying to fix it. And then eventually the time ran out. And then they're like, okay, whoever's left, take your blindfolds off. And me and my buddy popped our blindfold off. There were 7 women of the 9 of us all outside of the circle.
Wow.
And me and my buddy were sitting there like, what did we miss?
That's crazy.
What did we miss? Dude, I had done that same thing, this exercise, like a few times kind of in the last, like, however many years, like whether it be in Ecuador, this other program, or at this outdoor center. And I had ran it with other people as well, and I've seen the exact same thing. A lot of us dudes will sit there and be like, hey, how can we figure this out? Well, if we go...
Bashing your head against the wall.
Yeah, and it's like, well, I don't actually have the answer. How do you get out? Ask for help. So what happened is you'll see somebody be like, I was like, oh, I had done this before, so I knew. I was like, oh, okay. I was like, I don't know. Put my hand up. Guy came over, tapped me on the shoulder, said, take your blindfold off, walk off. I was like, oh, I'm an idiot, dude. I was like 19 when that happened. So I was lucky that it was like, I felt so dumb.
Young enough.
I was like, it was impressionable. I'm happy it didn't happen.
And would you say that like your ego got bruised at that?
Dude, it was bad. Yeah, I remember being like, I bet.
But how much better is it now that you feel...
Oh, it's amazing. Yeah, and I'm like not really shy to do it. That's like, why we're all here and stuff like that. It's like, oh, I want to do this. I need to go here. It's like, no, you can reach out to people. Yeah. And like you said earlier, Zach, because I really want to hammer this point home too, you're not, like you're robbing the person of the chance to help you.
100%.
Right? It's like...
And that's what they work for.
Yeah, 100%.
Like, if I'm really good at fucking... Like, if you're really good at building a house, and I'm really good at fucking getting people healthy, if you're not healthy and you can't build a house,
what good am I to anybody?
We both end up without a house and unhealthy.
Yeah.
Let me help you because I'm going to need your help back. And then we both get better at what we're doing. We both have the enjoyment of being able to help somebody we care about. And then we both have the joy of being able to then continue to grow because now we're not in this state where we are just sitting here feeling sorry and miserable for ourselves because we can't figure out the solution.
Yeah.
We've both grown from it.
Yeah.
And I might pick up some tricks. And maybe next time I don't need as much help. And maybe next time you get unhealthy, maybe you don't need as much help, but we still have that connection that you know you can rely on somebody for that skill that you might not be an expert in. And here's the other thing too, is I do not give a flying fuck enough to learn how to build a house.
Yeah, agreed.
I don't.
Agreed.
I am not ever going to want to learn how to build a house.
Yeah.
Do I want to learn how to do some shit? 100%.
Yeah.
I have other interests, I have other passions, I have other things I really want to get good at. Building a house isn't one of them.
Yeah, of course.
And I have no shame saying, I'm not the guy to build a house.
Right.
But if I had to, I know who I would ask to help me learn how to do it.
like get from point A to point B.
I know I could do it. I know that if I put the time and I put the work in, I would absolutely be able to build a house. I just know that I don't want to right now.
Right.
Yeah.
So I'm going to ask the guy that I know can help.
Who has the resources
And
able
who wants to do it.
build the village?
100%.
Because if you're not healthy enough to show up to work, what good are you?
Yeah,
anyway?
exactly.
I know I'm more of like, I'm like the shaman type. I'm like sitting in my tent dancing and singing and shit.
100%.
Like, I need someone to build the fucking tent for me.
100%. Yeah.
Someone's got to build my hut.
Somebody's got to put up the beams.
All right?
It's
I'm cool by the fire, Like, that's my role. Let me do my shit.
well, at least you know your role, right?
Yeah.
Because it's like it's funny because it's funny because I hear this conversation, and we've talked about this amongst brothers a lot. So for myself, it's funny because I'm in like an opposite role, where all my life I always asked for help. Yeah. I had all the help. I needed all the help. So I was very used to always needing someone to do something for me. I was always used to not relying on myself. I was always used to being that guy that like, okay, I'm not going to try this because the likelihood of me being able to do this is very low because of this and this and this and this. And what's interesting is, as we know as a close friend group, is since I've become my own person and had the opportunity to learn from these great individuals as we're sitting on this podcast and all the other individuals we have in our life, is the greatest decision I ever made was to take what I had and run with it. And ever since I've learned how to have a balance where I wasn't that guy that said, no, I'm not going to tell anyone around me that I needed help, because I felt like I couldn't do anything for myself anyways, because I was so doomed. And now what's interesting is I've had to learn how to trust myself and do things on my own, which has been the hardest and most single difficult thing that I've done probably in my life, because I'm so used to needing and having help and hands to get me to do this. Or, like in school, like I never took my own notes because I had arthritis in my hands. So who did I have? I had an EA that would literally write all my notes for me.
That's crazy.
I had an EA that would literally write my test for me.
Yeah.
I had friends and people who would write essays for me because I couldn't type. So when it came to daily life activities, exactly on where I am now as a trainer and coach, I needed to figure out how to do it, which was the most single hard thing to overcome. And I think the way that you overcome that is exactly how we're talking about this, which is being okay and vulnerable enough to first admit that you don't know how or you need help. And then secondly, which is the biggest thing, take action on it, which is probably the hardest single most thing that you'll ever do.
I think that it's by admitting your weaknesses that you are then able to acknowledge your strengths.
Yeah.
And I think that, if you have a weakness and you know it's a weakness and you know it's something that causes you a lot of grief or a lot of pain, take action on it. Learn from it. Ask the people who are good at it what they do and how they got so good at it, and invest into developing that weakness to a certain extent, right? But then also learning to run with your strengths is incredibly valuable. And I think there's a lot of men that put this value on themselves as being, whether it's a provider or maybe in some cases as being a victim.
Yes.
Right? Which everyone kind of has these things where it's like, this is who I am, this is how I do it, this is how I get shit done. Right? And we put this identity onto ourselves, and it's hard when that identity that you put onto yourself isn't getting you or giving you the things in the life and the outcome that you want.
Exactly.
And that is another one of those warning shots where that is time to take inventory on, are you really doing everything that you want to be doing or should be doing to get you to where you want to be?
Right.